Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we're truly alone in the universe? I used to. Now I pray that we were. 3 weeks ago, my life was painfully ordinary. I worked from home as a graphic designer, spent evenings binge-watching sci-fi shows, and occasionally met friends at the local pub. The highlight of my week was ordering pizza on Friday nights. Yeah, I know. Riveting stuff. My neighbor's cat visiting my balcony was the closest thing to excitement I had. Little did I know that the universe had plans to flip my reality upside down in the most unexpected way possible. It was just past midnight when it happened. I was sitting on my apartment balcony, nursing a beer and contemplating my existence like any other slightly depressed 28-year-old. The night sky was unusually clear for the city, stars twinkling against the darkness like distant promises. That's when I saw it, a streak of brilliant blue light cutting across the sky. Not your typical shooting star. This one seemed to be getting bigger and heading straight in my direction. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how I die. Not by old age or disease, but by some freak cosmic accident. Before I could even move, the light crashed into the empty field behind my apartment building with a thunderous boom that rattled my windows and sent my beer bottle tumbling to the floor. Curiosity trumped common sense. Instead of calling the police or running for cover like any rational person would, I grabbed my phone and flashlight and headed toward the impact site. The smell hit me first, something between ozone and cinnamon, oddly enough. Then I saw the crater, maybe 20 feet wide, with wisps of blue smoke curling from its center. And there she was, a woman. At least something that looked like a woman. Her skin had a faint bluish glow in the darkness, and her hair, if you could call it that, moved like liquid silver even though there wasn't any wind. She wore what appeared to be some kind of form-fitting suit made of a material I couldn't identify. It seemed to shift colors slightly as she moved, like oil on water. When she opened her eyes and looked at me, I felt a jolt run through my entire body. Her eyes were the deepest violet, with no whites at all, and they seemed to see right through me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't even think straight. It was like my brain had suddenly forgotten how to function. "I found you," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality to it that no human voice could produce. "After searching 17 galaxies and 432 solar systems, I finally found you." I managed to stammer out a "what?" as she rose effortlessly from the crater, not a scratch on her despite having just crashed from space. She approached me with fluid grace, studying my face with those unnerving violet eyes. "You are Alex Thompson of Earth, correct?" How she knew my name, I had no idea. I nodded dumbly. "Excellent." She smiled, revealing teeth that were just a bit too white, too perfect. "I am Lyra of the Celestial Convergence. And you, Alex Thompson, are my fated mate." I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of the situation finally broke through my shock. "Look, I don't know what's going on here, but your genetic signature has been calling to me across the cosmos," she interrupted, completely serious. "Our life energies are perfectly complementary, a 1 in 16 trillion occurrence. We are destined to be together." "That's not how dating works here on Earth," I said, finding my voice at last. "We usually start with coffee or dinner, not falling from the sky and making cosmic claims." Lyra tilted her head, confused. "You do not believe me. Understandable. Your species relies heavily on empirical evidence." She reached out and touched my forehead with a finger that felt like static electricity. Suddenly, my mind was flooded with images, stars being born and dying, planets I'd never seen, civilizations beyond imagination, and throughout it all, a pulsing blue light that somehow I knew was me, or some part of me. I fell to my knees, overwhelmed. When the vision cleared, I looked up at her with new fear and wonder. What are you really? And what do you want from me?" "I am exactly what I appear to be," she said, kneeling beside me. "And what I want is simple. I want you to come with me. There are others searching for you, others who do not have your best interests at heart. Others? I echoed weakly. Her expression darkened. The Void Hunters. They sense what I sense, your potential, but they would use you as a weapon, not as an equal. She glanced up at the sky anxiously. We don't have much time. They will have tracked my landing trajectory. As if on cue, a low humming sound began to fill the air. Unlike the musical quality of Lyra's voice, this sound made my teeth ache and my stomach turn. Something was coming. Lyra grabbed my hands, her touch sending sparks across my skin. I know this is sudden. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I swear on the eternal stars, Alex Thompson, if you stay here, you will die. And so will everyone else on this planet. I looked into her alien eyes and saw something I hadn't expected. Fear, not for herself, but for me. And somehow, against all logic and reason, I believed her. The humming grew louder, and darkness began to gather at the edges of the field, like shadows coming alive. Lyra's grip tightened. Choose now, Alex. Stay and face what's coming, or come with me and discover why the stars themselves know your name. I looked back at my apartment building, at my small, safe, ordinary life, then at the darkness creeping closer, and finally at this impossible woman from the stars. What would you do? Because the choice I made that night changed everything. I chose Lyra. Looking back now, I'm still not sure if it was the right decision. But when those shadows started moving like living ink across the field, some primal part of my brain screamed danger. And when Lyra extended her hand, glowing softly in the darkness, I took it. What happened next is hard to describe. One moment we were standing in that field, the encroaching darkness just feet away, and the next, we weren't. There was no flash of light, no sensation of movement, just a sudden shift, like reality itself had hiccuped, and suddenly we were somewhere else entirely. My apartment. My safe, ordinary apartment. Except it didn't feel safe anymore. How did we? I started, my voice cracking. Short-range phase shift. Lyra explained, moving quickly to the windows and drawing the blinds. It buys us minutes, nothing more. They'll track the energy signature. I collapsed onto my couch, trying to process everything. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on them. Who are they? What do they want? And what the hell do you mean I'm your fated mate? Lyra paused her frantic activity and looked at me with those unsettling violet eyes. For a moment, her otherworldly confidence faltered, replaced by something almost vulnerable. I don't have time to explain everything, she said. But I'll tell you what matters most. She sat beside me, keeping a respectful distance. My people, we call ourselves the Estrelli, have been watching Earth for centuries. We're researchers, explorers. We study developing worlds and their potential. Like aliens who study aliens, I said weakly, trying for humor. She smiled, and it was strangely human. Precisely. But we're not the only ones watching. The Void Hunters, they're scavengers. They seek out individuals with special genetic markers. Individuals like you. I'm nobody special. This wasn't self-pity. It was my genuine assessment. I'd never excelled at anything, never stood out. Average height, average looks, average life. There's nothing special about my genes. That's where you're wrong, Lyra said. You carry what we call the luminous sequence, an incredibly rare genetic pattern that allows for neural synchronization with cosmic energies. I stared at her blankly. She sighed. Your brain can connect with things that most humans can't even perceive. It's dormant now, but if activated and properly trained, you could manipulate energy fields, communicate across vast distances, even influence the physical world with your thoughts alone. So I'm what? Psychic, like Professor X. The sci-fi nerd in me was both skeptical and oddly thrilled. It's nothing so simple as your fiction portrays it, Lyra said. And it comes with great cost. The energy required to use such abilities burns through normal human physiology like fire through paper, which is why the Void Hunters want you. To use me as a weapon. I remembered her words from earlier. She nodded grimly. They would activate your abilities artificially, drain your life force until there's nothing left, then move on to the next candidate. They've done it before, on other worlds. A chill ran through me. And the fated mate thing. For the first time, Lyra looked almost embarrassed. That part is complicated. My people evolved differently than yours. Our biology allows us to share life energy symbiotically with compatible partners. It's not romantic, at least not necessarily, but it is intimate. A life bond. And we're compatible. I asked skeptically, extraordinarily so. Your luminous sequence resonates perfectly with my bioenergy field. It's why I was able to find you across such vast distances. She hesitated. It also means I could help you channel your abilities safely without burning out your neural pathways. The implication slowly dawned on me. So you want to, what, bond with me to keep me from becoming a human battery for these Void Hunter things? Partly, she admitted, but also because such a bond would benefit both of us. You would gain control over abilities you never knew you had. I would. She trailed off. You would what? A strange look crossed her face. Longing, maybe? I've been alone for a very long time, Alex. My kind are few, and compatible matches are rarer still. The sudden vulnerability in her voice caught me off guard. Before I could respond, a low hum began to fill the apartment. The same teeth-aching vibration from the field. Lyra jumped to her feet. They found us. What do we do? I asked, panic rising in my throat. She grabbed my shoulders, her touch sending tingles across my skin. Listen carefully. The Void Hunters can track me more easily than they can track you. We need to separate temporarily. What? No. The thought of facing whatever was coming alone terrified me. Just for a short time, she insisted. There's someone who can help us, a former Astrali scientist who chose to live on Earth. Her name is Nera. She has technology that can mask our signatures. Lyra pressed something into my hand, a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. This will lead you to her. I'll draw the hunters away, then circle back. I don't understand any of this, I said desperately. How will I know this Nera person? What do I tell her? She'll know you by the crystal. Tell her Lyra sent you, and that the Void Hunters have returned. She moved toward the door, then hesitated. Alex, I know you have no reason to trust me, but please believe that I mean you no harm. Quite the opposite. The humming grew louder, and shadows began to seep under my apartment door like dark water. Go now, Lyra said. Out the fire escape. Don't stop, don't look back. The crystal will guide you. Before I could protest further, she did something unexpected. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against mine. A rush of warmth flooded through me, along with a cascade of emotions that weren't my own. Determination, fear, hope, and something deeper I couldn't name. For luck, she whispered. Then she was gone, slipping out the front door into the hallway. I stood frozen for a moment, still reeling from that strange connection. Then the shadows began to coalesce into shapes that made my eyes hurt to look at them. And I ran for the fire escape. As I clambered down the metal stairs, clutching the glowing crystal, I heard a sound from above that might have been a scream or something worse. I wanted to turn back, to help her somehow, but the crystal in my hand pulsed insistently, pulling me forward like a compass needle pointing north. Who was Nera? Could she really help us? And was I running toward safety or into another trap? I had no answers, only questions multiplying with every racing heartbeat. But one thing was certain, my ordinary life was gone forever. And somewhere in the night sky above, stars were watching, waiting to see what I would do next. The crystal led me through the city like a bizarre alien GPS. I ran until my lungs burned, ducking through alleys and empty streets, the pulsing light growing stronger when I moved in the right direction. By the time I reached the outskirts of town, the first hints of dawn were creeping across the sky. My destination turned out to be an old observatory perched on a hill overlooking the city. It had been abandoned years ago when the university built a newer facility. At least, that's what everyone thought. As I approached the weathered dome, the crystal in my hand glowed so brightly it hurt to look at. I hesitated at the entrance. What if this was a trap? What if Lyra had sent me straight into the hands of those things? But the memory of those shadow creatures oozing under my apartment door pushed me forward. I had nowhere else to go. The heavy metal door should have been locked, but it swung open at my touch. Inside, the air smelled of ozone and something herbal, like sage. Instead of the dusty, abandoned interior I expected, the observatory hummed with life. Strange equipment lined the walls. Devices that looked both incredibly advanced and oddly organic, with pulsing lights and flowing components. I was wondering when you'd arrive. The voice came from the darkness near the old telescope. A figure stepped forward. A woman who appeared to be in her 60s, with silver-streaked dark hair pulled into a tight bun. Her eyes, though, gave her away. The same violet as Lyra's, but deeper, with flecks of what looked like actual starlight swooning in them. I'm Nera. You must be the human with the Lumina sequence. Alex. I managed. Lyra sent me. She said the Void Hunters have returned. Nera's face tightened with concern. Where is she now? She created a diversion. Drew them away so I could escape. The memory of that scream, or whatever it was, made my stomach clench. Is she okay? Can you contact her somehow? Nera shook her head. Communication is too risky. The hunters monitor all energy frequencies. She studied me intently. You've connected with her already, haven't you? I can see the initial binding has begun. I remembered Lyra's forehead against mine, that rush of emotions. She did something before she left. I felt what she was feeling. The first stage of neural synchronization, Nera nodded. Interesting that she initiated it so quickly. She must trust you. Or she was desperate, I countered. Look, I need answers. Real answers. What exactly are these hunters? Why do they want me? And what happened to all the other people with this Lumina thing before me? Nera sighed, gesturing me toward a circular seating area. Sit, this will take some time. For the next hour, she explained things that made my reality shift once again. The Astrali weren't just alien researchers. They were guardians of a sort, protecting developing worlds from species like the Void Hunters. The hunters themselves weren't simply alien predators. They were evolved energy parasites, consuming life force to sustain themselves, particularly drawn to rare energy signatures like mine. And the Lumina sequence, it wasn't just a genetic anomaly. It was an evolutionary leap. Every few thousand years, a species produces individuals with the capacity to bridge the gap between physical matter and cosmic energy, Nera explained. Your scientists have theorized about it in concepts like quantum consciousness, but they've barely scratched the surface. So I'm some kind of evolutionary experiment. The idea made me feel sick. More like a natural adaptation, Nera corrected. The universe is far more connected than your species realizes. Your consciousness, all consciousness, is part of the cosmic fabric. The Lumina sequence just allows certain individuals to access that connection more directly. And these hunters kill people like me for this ability. Nera's expression darkened. They don't just kill. They drain. Slowly, painfully. They've wiped out the Lumina carriers on 17 different worlds. Earth is special to us. We've been trying to protect your people for millennia. I thought about what Lyra had said, that I was 1 in 16 trillion. How many others like me are there on Earth? Currently, 3 that we know of. 2 are children, their abilities still dormant. You're the only adult whose sequence is ready to activate. The weight of this information settled on me like a stone. And Lyra, what does she really want from me? Nera studied me for a long moment. Lyra is what we call a resonator. an astrally born with the ability to harmonize with Lumina energy. Without a resonator to help stabilize your awakening abilities, you would burn out in days, maybe hours. The neural pathways in your brain simply aren't designed to channel that much energy. So she needs me, and I need her, I summarized. Convenient. Necessary, Nera corrected. And rare. Do you have any idea how extraordinary it is to find a compatible match across species? The fact that she found you at all is nothing short of miraculous. Before I could respond, the crystal in my hand suddenly went dark. At the same moment, every device in the observatory flickered. Nera was on her feet instantly. They found us, faster than I anticipated. My heart leaped into my throat. The hunters? No. Her expression softened slightly. It's Lyra. But she's not alone. The door to the observatory burst open, and Lyra stumbled in. Her silvery hair was dull, her skin no longer glowing. Dark marks like bruises spread across her face and neck. She looked injured. I didn't even know aliens could get injured. They're coming, she gasped, collapsing against a console. All of them. The entire hunting party. I rushed to her side without thinking, supporting her weight. The moment we touched, that same rush of connection flooded through me, but this time tinged with pain and exhaustion. What happened? I demanded. What did they do to you? Energy siphon. Nera answered for her, already activating various devices around the room. They've started feeding on her. Horror washed through me. Can you help her? Not quickly enough, Nera said grimly. We have minutes, maybe less. They'll track her directly to us. Lyra gripped my arm, her violet eyes locking onto mine. Alex, listen to me. Your abilities. We need to activate them now. What? You said that was dangerous. It is, she confirmed. Without proper preparation, the chances of neural burnout are significant. But we're out of options. The hunters will be here soon, and once they have you, they'll drain you until there's nothing left. Nera approached, her expression grave. She's right. We can try to stabilize you through the first phase of awakening, enough to defend yourself. But the process is intensely painful. And if I refuse? I asked, already knowing the answer. Then we all die, Lyra said simply, and the hunters move on to their next target. Perhaps one of the children. The mention of children, kids with the same target on their backs that I had, made my decision for me. What do I need to do? Nera and Lyra exchanged glances. We need to complete the resonance bond. Lyra said, full neural synchronization. Like what you did before. The forehead thing. A weak smile crossed her face. That was just a taste. The full bond is much more. Invasive. Our minds will temporarily merge. You'll see my memories, feel my emotions, and I'll see yours. The idea terrified me more than the hunters. All my failures, my regrets, my darkest thoughts, laid bare to someone else. There has to be another way. There isn't, Nera said, moving to the observatory's main console. And we need to begin now. I'm initiating the containment field, but it won't hold them for long. Outside, the sky was darkening unnaturally, clouds swirling into a vortex above the observatory. The humming sound I'd come to associate with the hunters grew louder, making the windows vibrate. Lyra took my hands in hers. Despite her weakened state, her touch sent currents of energy dancing across my skin. I know you're afraid, she said softly. So am I. But I promise you, Alex, whatever happens next, whatever you become, I will not abandon you. There was such fierce conviction in her voice that I almost believed her. Almost. Quickly, Nera urged, the equipment around us powering up with a high-pitched whine. They're breaching the outer atmosphere. Lyra drew me to the center of the room, under the observatory's open dome. Above us, the morning sky had turned an unnatural purple-black, like a bruise spreading across the heavens. Lightning crackled in the clouds, but it was dark lightning, casting shadows instead of light. Last chance to back out, Lyra whispered, her face inches from mine, her violet eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. I thought about my apartment, my ordinary life, my Friday night pizzas. I thought about running away, hiding. I thought about those shadow creatures and what they might do to the other people with the luminous sequence, people who didn't even know what they were. I took a deep breath. Do it. Lyra nodded once, then placed her hands on either side of my face. Remember, she whispered, whatever you see, whatever you feel, it's all real. Don't fight it. Then she pressed her forehead to mine, and the world exploded into light. Imagine having someone else's entire life downloaded into your brain in an instant. Every memory, every feeling, every triumph and heartbreak, all rushing through your consciousness like a tsunami. That's what happened when Lyra completed the bond. I saw her home world, a place of crystalline towers and twin moons hanging low in a lavender sky. I felt her childhood fears, her training as a resonator, her first failed mission that left her doubting herself. I witnessed the gradual extinction of her people, felt her loneliness as she traveled between stars for centuries, and I experienced her shock when she first detected my luminous sequence, like finding water in a desert. But more than memories, I felt her emotions, raw and unfiltered, her determination to protect me, her fear of failure, and something deeper, a longing for connection that mirrored my own human loneliness in ways I never expected. Meanwhile, my own life flashed before her eyes. My ordinary childhood, my failed relationships, my abandonment issues from parents who were physically present but emotionally distant, my small triumphs, my crushing disappointments, the night I almost gave up completely. All of it, exposed. The process lasted seconds but felt like lifetimes. When we finally separated, I fell to my knees, gasping. My skin felt too tight, like something inside me was expanding, pushing against my physical boundaries. Alex. Lyra crouched beside me, her own breathing ragged. Focus on my voice. The first wave is the hardest. Don't fight it. Easy for her to say. It felt like my nerve endings were on fire, like my brain was rewiring itself with molten wire. I screamed, the sound echoing off the observatory walls. The neural pathways are forming, Nera called from the console, her fingers flying over controls. Containment field at maximum, but it won't hold much longer. Those aren't ordinary hunters up there. Through tear-blurred eyes, I looked at the dome above us. The swirling vortex had grown, now spanning the entire visible sky. Within it, darker shapes moved, massive and sinuous, like living shadows with purpose. What's happening to me? I managed to gasp between waves of pain. Your luminous sequence is activating, Lyra explained, her hands supporting me. Your consciousness is expanding beyond physical limitations. Don't try to control it yet. Just let it flow. Another surge hit me, and I doubled over. But something was different this time. Through the pain, I felt something else, a tingling awareness spreading outward from my mind. I could suddenly sense the energy signatures around me. Lyra's vibrant pulse, Nera's steadier rhythm, and something else. A hungry void approaching from above, vast and ancient and ravenous. I can feel them, I whispered in horror. The hunters. They're huge. Not physically, Nera corrected, joining us in the center of the room. Their energy forms have grown bloated from centuries of feeding, but their physical manifestations are just vessels. The humming had become a bone-rattling drone. The windows of the observatory shattered inward, glass exploding across the floor. The temperature plummeted, our breath visible in sudden clouds. They're here. Lyra stood, placing herself between me and the open dome. Alex, stay behind me. No. I struggled to my feet, fighting through another wave of pain. I'm not hiding anymore. Through the open dome, the darkness descended, not as the amorphous shadows I'd seen before, but as figures now. Humanoid in shape, but wrong somehow, like poorly constructed mannequins. Their skin was matte black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Where faces should be, they had only smooth surfaces with 3 vertical slits that pulsed with sickly purple light. 5 of them floated down through the dome, moving with unnatural grace. Behind them came something larger, a figure twice their height, with multiple limbs that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Its head was crowned with writhing tendrils that reminded me of solar flares, dark and hungry. "The Void Prime," Nera breathed, her voice tight with fear. "They've sent their leader." The creatures didn't speak, not with words, but a pressure built in my mind, like someone trying to force their way in. Images flashed, me on my knees, my energy being siphoned away while I screamed. Earth burning, its life force harvested. The hunters moving on to their next target, bloated with power. Lyra stepped forward, her hands raised. Energy crackled around her fingers. Actual visible energy, like blue lightning. "You will not have him," she declared. "By ancient covenant, I claim protection rights for this Lumina carrier and this world." The Void Prime tilted its featureless head. The pressure in my mind changed, becoming almost mocking. I somehow understood it was laughing at us. Nera moved to a console, activating something that caused the floor beneath us to glow with intricate patterns. "The protection circle is active," she announced. "It won't hold them long, but it might give us time to." She never finished the sentence. One of the smaller hunters moved with blinding speed, crossing the room and seizing her by the throat. The contact alone seemed to drain her skin instantly graying, the starlight in her eyes dimming. "Nera!" Lyra cried out, blasting a surge of energy toward the hunter. It struck true, causing the creature to release its grip, but the damage was done. Nera collapsed to the floor, her life force visibly diminished. Rage filled me, white-hot and unexpected. These things had hunted people like me across galaxies, destroyed entire civilizations, and now they threatened the only 2 beings in the universe who had tried to help me. The pain of my transformation was still there, but the anger pushed it aside, giving me focus. "Stop!" I shouted, stepping forward. To my shock, the hunters actually paused, their featureless faces turning toward me. The pressure in my mind increased, images of power, of partnership. They weren't just threatening me, they were offering something. If I surrendered willingly, they would give me a share of the energy they collected. I could be one of them, immortal and powerful, feeding across the cosmos. The offer was tempting for exactly 1 second before I realized what it meant, becoming a parasite, destroying lives across countless worlds. Becoming the very thing I now feared. I would rather die. I spat. The Void Prime raised one of its many arms, and pain exploded through me. Not the transformative pain of my awakening abilities, but the agony of something trying to tear my life force away. I fell to my knees, feeling myself weakening as the creature began to feed. Lyra threw herself at the Prime, energy blazing around her like a comet's tail. "You can't have him," she screamed, unleashing a barrage of power that would have incinerated any human instantly. The Prime barely flinched. With a casual gesture, it sent Lyra flying across the room, crashing into equipment with a sickening crunch. But her attack had broken its concentration, giving me a moment's reprieve from the draining. I crawled toward her, every movement an effort. The other hunters circled us like sharks, waiting for their leader's command to feed. Nera lay unmoving near the console, her skin now ashen gray. "Lyra," I gasped, reaching her side. Blood, or something like it, trickled from a gash on her forehead, shimmering with an inner light. "Get up, please." Her violet eyes fluttered open. "Alex," she whispered, her voice weak, "you need to run. The bond isn't complete. Your abilities aren't stabilized. They'll drain you in minutes. I'm not leaving you." I helped her sit up, acutely aware of the hunters closing in around us. We do this together, or not at all. The Prime approached, its body seeming to grow larger with anticipation of the feast to come. The pressure returned to my mind, not offering this time, but demanding. Surrender. Give in. Make it easy. Something inside me snapped. Not my courage or my will, but whatever barrier had been holding back the full force of my awakening abilities. The pain that had been building suddenly transformed into something else, a rush of power unlike anything I'd ever felt. I could sense the energy flowing through me, around me, connecting me to everything. I saw the pattern of life, not just in the observatory, but spreading outward, encompassing the hill, the city beyond, the entire planet. And within that pattern, I saw the hunters for what they truly were. Parasites, yes, but also wounded creatures, driven by hunger and fear of extinction. Alex, Lyra asked, sensing the change in me. What's happening? I didn't answer because I wasn't entirely sure myself. Acting on instinct, I reached for her hand. The moment our fingers touched, the connection between us flared bright enough to illuminate the entire observatory. I felt her energy merging with mine, stabilizing the chaotic storm building within me. The Void Prime hesitated, its featureless face somehow registering surprise. It raised all four arms, gathering darkness around itself like a cloak. The smaller hunters edged closer, their hunger a palpable force pressing against my consciousness. I don't know if I can fight them, I admitted to Lyra, still holding her hand tightly. She managed a smile, blood still trickling down her face. You don't have to fight them alone. In that moment, with the hunters closing in and our lives hanging by a thread, I made a decision that would change everything. Not just for me, not just for Lyra, but potentially for every world threatened by these cosmic predators. I leaned forward, pressing my forehead to Lyra's once more. But this time, I wasn't just receiving the connection. I was initiating it. Together, I whispered. The world exploded into light once again. But this time, I wasn't afraid. When our minds connected this time, something fundamentally different happened. Before, I had been passive, receiving Lyra's memories and energy. Now, I was actively reaching for her, and she for me. Our consciousnesses didn't just touch, they intertwined. I felt a new presence in my mind. Lyra, but not as a separate entity. We were becoming something else, something greater than the sum of our parts. Through her eyes, I could see energy patterns flowing around us. Through my perspective, she could feel the human experience of adrenaline and fear and hope. What is this? I asked, though not with words. Our thoughts flowed directly between us now. The true bond, she answered. What my people call the astral sync. It's rare even among compatible pairs. The Void Prime sensed the change. It made a sound. A high, keening wail that shattered the remaining windows and sent vibrations through the floor. The smaller hunters backed away, their featureless faces turned toward their leader as if awaiting instruction. Through our shared consciousness, Lyra conveyed understanding. They're afraid. The Prime hasn't encountered a fully synchronized pair in millennia. With good reason, I realized. As our bond strengthened, I could feel power building between us. Not just Lyra's energy or my awakening abilities, but something new being created at the intersection. The pain of my transformation faded, replaced by a clarity that was almost overwhelming. I could see the energy signatures of everything around us. The weak, fading pulse that was Nera, the hungry void of the hunters, and most brightly, the luminous connection between Lyra and myself. The Prime lunged forward, darkness gathering around its many limbs. It wasn't retreating. It was attacking with everything it had, hoping to break our connection before it fully formed. Without thinking, I raised my hand. Lyra's movement synchronized with mine. Energy. Actual visible energy, blue-white and crackling, shot from our outstretched fingers, forming a barrier between us and the hunter. When darkness met light, the resulting explosion rocked the entire observatory, sending equipment flying and creating cracks in the concrete floor. We need to get to Nera. Lyra's thought came through our bond. She's dying. I nodded, our movements still perfectly aligned. The smaller hunters circled us warily as we made our way to where Nera lay. Her skin had turned translucent, the starlight in her eyes barely flickering. She's been drained almost completely. Lyra's voice echoed in my mind, grief coloring her thoughts. I felt her knowledge flow through me, understanding that Astrali couldn't survive having their energy siphoned below a certain threshold. Nera was moments from death. The Void Prime recovered from our defensive blast, rising to its full height. Through our bond, I sensed its ancient intelligence focusing on us, calculating, assessing. It raised 2 of its 4 arms, and the smaller hunters moved in perfect coordination, surrounding us in a tight circle. They're going to attack together, I realized. We can't fight all of them at once. Lyra's determination flowed through our bond. We don't need to fight them all. Only the Prime. Without their leader, the others will scatter. Easy to say, harder to do. The Prime towered above its followers, radiating malevolence and hunger. I could sense its age now. Countless millennia spent consuming worlds. It had faced Astrali before, had defeated resonators more experienced than Lyra. What chance did we have? Despair began to creep in, but Lyra's consciousness pushed back against it. This is different, her thoughts insisted. We are different. The Lumina sequence in you is stronger than any the hunters have encountered. Before I could respond, the hunters attacked in unison. They didn't move physically. Instead, tendrils of darkness shot from their featureless faces, aiming straight for us. Acting on instinct, Lyra and I raised our hands together, creating another energy shield. The darkness crashed against it, sending shockwaves through the bond. I felt Lyra's pain as if it were my own, her energy draining as she maintained the shield. I can't hold this much longer, her thought came, tinged with exhaustion. The Prime sensed our weakness. It moved forward, adding its considerable power to the assault. Our shield began to crack, lines of darkness seeping through. In desperation, I reached deeper into the newly awakened abilities within me. If the Lumina sequence was as powerful as they believed, there had to be more I could do. Through our bond, I felt Lyra's surprise as I pulled energy not just from myself, but from the world around us. From the air, from the earth beneath the observatory, from the distant stars visible through the broken dome. It felt like trying to drink from a fire hose. Power surged through me, wild and untamed. I heard myself scream. Felt Lyra's alarm as my body began to glow with barely contained energy. "Alex, stop." Her voice cut through the chaos in my mind. "You're channeling too much. Your body can't handle it." She was right. The power was burning through me, too much for my human physiology. Pain returned, worse than before, the feeling of being torn apart from the inside out. The Void Prime sensed its opportunity. As I struggled to contain the energy I'd foolishly called forth, it launched a direct attack, not on our shield, but on the bond itself. I felt something cold and ancient trying to wedge between our connected minds, trying to sever what we created. Lyra fought back fiercely, her consciousness wrapped protectively around mine. But the Prime was strong, its techniques honed over eons of hunting. It found the weak points in our hastily formed bond and began to pull them apart. As our connection weakened, I felt the excess energy within me growing more unstable. Without Lyra's stabilizing presence, the power I channeled would tear me apart in seconds. Dark spots appeared in my vision. My skin felt like it was splitting open, revealing pure light beneath. In that moment of crisis, something unexpected happened. A new consciousness touched our bond, faint but determined. Nera. Though barely clinging to life, she had somehow sensed our predicament. Her thoughts were weak but clear. The observatory. Use the observatory. At first, I didn't understand. Then, through our fading bond, Lyra's knowledge flowed into me. The abandoned observatory wasn't just a hiding place. It was a device, built by Nera over decades. Its true purpose wasn't to observe stars, but to channel and focus cosmic energy. The telescope, the dome, the unusual equipment, all designed to amplify the abilities of a Lumina carrier. But how? I thought desperately as the Prime continued its assault on our bond. I don't know how to use it. Nera's consciousness flickered, growing fainter. The resonance chamber. Below. Through Lyra's memories, I saw it. A hidden room beneath the observatory floor, containing technology beyond human understanding. If we could reach it, we might have a chance. But the hunters had us surrounded, the Prime still working to break our bond. And even if we could fight our way free, Nera was dying. We couldn't just leave her. Lyra's thoughts intertwined with mine, our desperation feeding off each other. We need to create a diversion, she concluded. Something to scatter the hunters, just for a moment. An idea formed between us. Dangerous, possibly suicidal, but our only chance. If I could release just a portion of the excess energy I'd absorbed in a controlled burst, it might disorient the hunters long enough for us to reach the chamber below. It's too risky, Lyra protested, feeling my intention. Without full stability, the energy release could kill you. Do we have another choice? I shot back. The Prime sensed our communication. Its assault redoubled, darkness seeping further into our bond. Our time was running out. Lyra's reluctant agreement flowed through what remained of our connection. Not a full release, she insisted. Just enough to create confusion. I'll try to channel as much as I can away from you. I nodded, gathering the chaotic energy that threatened to tear me apart. Lyra strengthened what remained of our bond, preparing to siphon off as much of the backlash as she could. Together, we faced the circle of hunters, the imposing figure of the Prime still working to separate us. On 3. I thought. On. Lyra began the count, her consciousness pressed tightly against mine. 2. I focused the energy, feeling it build to a critical point within me. The Prime sensed the gathering power. Its assault paused as it assessed this new threat. The smaller hunters shifted uneasily, their hunger momentarily overshadowed by uncertainty. 3. We thought in unison. I released the energy, not in a focused beam like before, but in a spherical burst that expanded outward in all directions. Light exploded from my body, temporarily blinding even me. I felt Lyra's consciousness straining to channel the backlash, to keep the release from destroying me from within. The hunters scattered, their featureless faces turned away from the sudden brilliance. Even the Prime recoiled, its many limbs raised defensively. In the moment of confusion, Lyra pulled me toward Nera's prone form. Together, we lifted the barely conscious Estrelli between us. The floor beneath her console slid open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Go, Lyra urged, both through our bond and aloud. I'll hold them back. Not without you, I insisted, still supporting half of Nera's weight. The Void Prime recovered quickly, its massive form already turning back toward us. Darkness gathered around it like a storm cloud, its rage palpable even without our bond. If we all go, it will follow immediately, Lyra argued. Someone needs to seal the entrance. Buy us time. She was right. And I hated it. After finally finding someone who understood me completely, who had shared her mind with mine, I couldn't bear the thought of leaving her behind. Lyra's hand touched my face, a gesture both tender and urgent. This isn't goodbye, she promised. The bond remains, even at a distance. I'll find you again. Before I could protest further, she shoved us toward the staircase. I stumbled backward, still supporting Nera, watching as Lyra turned to face the approaching hunters. Energy crackled around her once more as she prepared for a fight she couldn't possibly win alone. The last thing I saw before the floor closed above us was Lyra, standing tall against the darkness, her silver hair flowing like a banner, her violet eyes meeting mine one last time. Then we were plunged into darkness, descending toward whatever lay below, our last hope against a threat that had destroyed worlds. The resonance chamber was nothing like I expected. No alien technology, no complex machinery, just a perfectly circular room with walls that seemed to be made of the same crystal Lyra had given me. It glowed softly, illuminating Nera's ashen face as I carefully lowered her to the floor. "What now?" I asked, but Nera was barely conscious, her breathing shallow. Above us, the sounds of battle shook the ceiling. Crashes, explosions, that awful keening wail of the Void Prime. I could feel Lyra through our bond, her determination burning bright even as her energy depleted. She was fighting with everything she had, but she couldn't hold out much longer. I fell to my knees beside Nera, desperation overwhelming me. "Please," I begged, "tell me what to do. How do I help her? How do I stop them?" Nera's eyes fluttered open, the starlight in them almost extinguished. "Center of the room," she managed. "Stand there." I did as she instructed, moving to the exact middle of the circular chamber. The moment I took my position, the crystals in the walls pulsed brighter, resonating with something inside me. "Now what?" I called back to Nera. Her voice was so faint I could barely hear her. "The observatory amplifies what's already within. Focus on the bond. Focus on the bond." Easier said than done with the sounds of combat raging above and Lyra's pain bleeding through our connection. But I closed my eyes, trying to center myself like I'd seen people do in meditation videos I'd never had the patience to follow. The bond with Lyra felt stretched thin, like a rubber band pulled to its breaking point, but it was still there, a thread of connection linking her consciousness to mine. I focused on that thread, imagining it growing stronger, thicker. Nothing happened. Frustration built inside me. What was I doing wrong? Was I too late? Above us, something massive crashed to the floor. Through our bond, I felt Lyra's pain spike sharply, then dull as she forced herself back to her feet. "She's losing," I whispered, my eyes still closed tight. "I can feel it." "Not technique." Nera's voice came, weaker than before. "Emotion." "What do you feel for her?" What did I feel? 4 days ago, I hadn't even known Lyra existed. Now she was fighting to the death to protect me. Someone who had done nothing to deserve such sacrifice. She had shared her mind, her memories, her very essence with me. She had seen all my flaws, my failures, my darknesses, and still chosen to stand by me. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about cosmic energy or genetic sequences or alien bonds. This was about connection, the kind humans search for their entire lives. Someone who sees you completely and stays anyway. Someone who would fight for you, die for you if necessary. In the span of days, Lyra had become more important to me than people I'd known for years. And now I was going to lose her. "No," I said aloud, my voice echoing in the crystal chamber. "I won't let that happen." I reached for our bond with everything I had, not with technique or skill, but with raw emotion. With gratitude for her sacrifice, with admiration for her courage, with something that, given time, might even become love. The crystals around me flared in response, bathing the chamber in blinding light. I felt our bond snap back into focus, no longer stretched thin but strong and vibrant. Through it, I could see through Lyra's eyes, could see the hunters surrounding her, the prime blooming over her fallen form, darkness gathering for a final, fatal strike. "Lyra," I called both aloud and through our bond. "Hold on." The chamber around me resonated with energy, the crystals amplifying my abilities, just as Nera had said they would. But this time, I didn't try to channel the cosmic energy myself. Instead, I focused it all on our bond, strengthening the connection between us until distance became meaningless. In that moment, standing in the resonance chamber while Lyra fought for her life above, something impossible happened. The bond between us didn't just strengthen, it transported me. Not physically. My body remained in the chamber, but my consciousness, empowered by the resonance crystals and carried by our bond, projected upward. Suddenly I was there with her, my energy joining with hers even as the prime prepared to strike. Lyra's shock rippled through our bond. "Alex? How?" "The resonance chamber," I explained, thought flowing directly to thought. It amplifies the bond. We're connected now, more than ever. The Void Prime hesitated, its featureless face somehow conveying confusion as it sensed my presence without my physical form. The smaller hunters backed away, uncertain. Through our fully restored bond, Lyra's knowledge flowed into me once more. I understood now what we needed to do, not fight the hunters directly, but seal them away. The observatory wasn't just an amplifier. It was a trap, designed millennia ago for exactly this purpose. Together, I said, reaching for her. Lyra clasped my incorporeal hand, our energies flowing in perfect harmony. We raised our free hands in unison, directing the amplified power of our bond upward, toward the open dome. The sky above, still dark with the hunter's presence, began to swirl in the opposite direction, forming a new vortex, not of darkness, but of light. The Void Prime sensed the danger too late. It lunged for us, its many limbs stretching impossibly long. But our combined energy formed a barrier it couldn't penetrate. Above us, the vortex of light grew stronger, pulling at the hunters like a cosmic vacuum. One by one, the smaller hunters were lifted off the ground, their featureless faces turned upward as they were drawn into the swirling light. They didn't fight it, couldn't fight it. The Prime alone resisted, its massive form anchored to the earth by tendrils of darkness. It's too strong. Lyra's thought came, tinged with exhaustion. We need more power. In the chamber below, I sensed Nera's fading presence. Without thinking, I extended our bond to include her, drawing her into our unified consciousness. Her surprise gave way to understanding, then determination. With the last of her strength, she joined her energy with ours, creating a threefold connection that blazed like a newborn star. The Prime's anchors began to break, darkness dissipating under our combined light. It made that awful keening sound once more, not in anger now, but in fear. For the first time in millennia, the hunter had become the hunted. With a final surge of united power, we broke the Prime's last connections to Earth. It rose unwillingly into the vortex, its many limbs thrashing against the inevitable. The moment it vanished into the swirling light, Nera's consciousness guided us through the final step, sealing the rift, ensuring the hunters could never return to this world. The vortex collapsed in on itself with a thunderclap that shook the entire observatory. The unnatural darkness vanished, morning sunlight streaming through the broken dome once more. In the chamber below, I opened my eyes, gasping for breath. The bond was still there, but different now, quieter, more settled. I could feel Lyra's exhaustion matching my own, and beneath it, a profound relief. We had done it. We had actually done it. I raced up the stairs, emerging into the wreckage of the main observatory. Lyra sat amid the destruction, her silvery hair dull, her skin pale but intact. When she saw me, a smile broke across her face, tired but genuine. "You came back," she said simply. "I never left," I replied, moving to kneel beside her. Not where it counted. We both felt it then, Nera's presence fading from our bond. I turned to see her body dissolving into particles of light, rising upward through the broken dome. "She's gone," Lyra whispered, tears in her violet eyes. She used the last of her energy to help us seal the rift. I took Lyra's hand, feeling the direct connection between us even without the intensity of our earlier bond. "What happens now?" "Now." Lyra looked up at the blue sky above us, then back at me. "Now we have choices to make. The hunters are sealed away from this sector of the galaxy, but there are other threats out there. Other worlds with Lumina carriers who need protection. And us." I asked, the question encompassing everything. Our bond, our future, whatever this connection between us was becoming. Lyra's hand tightened around mine. "That depends on you. I can return to the stars, continue my work, or I can stay. Learn what it means to be human. Learn what it means to be with you." 4 days ago, my biggest concern had been what to order for Friday night pizza. Now I had to decide whether to stay on Earth or explore the cosmos with an alien who had seen into the depths of my soul, and stayed anyway. Life was funny like that. I looked at Lyra, really looked at her, not at the alien who had fallen from the sky, but at the person who had fought for me, who had been willing to die for me. The person who knew me better than anyone ever had or ever would. My choice wasn't really a choice at all. Both, I said finally. We do both. Earth needs protection too. And I have a life here. But I also want to see those twin moons you showed me. I want to understand what's out there. Lyra smiled, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked truly at peace. It won't be easy, she warned. You're still learning to control your abilities. The bond between us is still new. Nothing worth having is easy, I replied, helping her to her feet. Besides, I think we've proven we make a pretty good team. As we stood in the ruins of the observatory, sunlight streaming down on us, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever, a sense of belonging, of purpose, of connection. My fated mate from the stars. Who would have thought? Some people spend their whole lives looking up at the night sky, wondering if we're alone in the universe. I don't have to wonder anymore. And whatever comes next, whether it's rebuilding our lives on Earth or exploring distant worlds, we'll face it together. That's the thing about fate, I guess. Sometimes it crashes into your backyard in a ball of blue fire. And sometimes, just sometimes, it changes everything for the better.